You mentioned us as the community media partner. We're taking that pretty sacred and saying, look, what are your Sari stories? How has this garment, what are your memories of this? What have people handed down to you? So I feel so proud that I think this is a very Epicenter thing where we kind of, got involved through one aspect of history. The New York Historical has done a great job with that. But of course, this history is our history and it's way beyond the walls of the museum. So I hope people go see it, but I also hope that they reflect on their own stories.
That was Mitra Galita, co-founder and publisher of Epicenter NYC. And this is Making It Here, a podcast by Epicenter NYC, where we spotlight the real stories behind entrepreneurs, artists, creators, and business leaders forging their own path. Every week, we dive into the hustle, the setbacks, the small wins that make the big picture possible. And every guest will have something to teach us, because making it here isn't easy. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. Today, we're turning the mic inward and sharing a couple of highlights from a recent conversation I had with Epicenter co-founder and publisher, Mitra Galita, on Los Herederos Radio. First, we discuss the Sari exhibit that Epicenter has helped bring to life, reframing the Sari as a cultural and artistic object, one that carries stories of migration, memory, identity, and resistance. We also cover the launch of Epicenter Foundation's latest AI cohort. The program brings together small business owners, nonprofit leaders, and other community voices to learn how artificial intelligence can be used in practical, accessible ways. It's part of Epicenter's ongoing effort to ensure that the communities we serve aren't left behind as new technologies develop. And before we wrap up, we'll share a quick preview of what else is coming later this October. Now let's jump in. Epicenter is a proud community media sponsor of the New York Sari exhibit. I just attended the opening reception. You were part of all the behind the scenes of how
actually everyone in this room attended the New York Sari exhibit. Los Herederos was in the house, so hey. I'm really happy about that. Yeah,
yeah. If you could just take us to what's happening with the exhibit. What is it?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure. It's a great it's a great moment for us right now, and I think what I love about the Sari exhibit is that it sort of literally peels back layers, right, of our community and says, actually, we've been a part of the fabric of this city for a long time, right? I just used a lot of puns that involve clothing and sorry. So the exhibit the genesis of it was a conversation between the CEO of the New York Historical, Louise Mirror, our New York City City Councilman, Shekhar Krishnan, who represents this district here in Jackson Heights and Elmhurst. And he's the first Indian American elected to New York City office. We were having lunch and we were talking about ways that the New York Historical might, kind of represent the South Asian community. Like what are we talking about? What are we thinking about? And I had just downsized both my in-laws' home and my parents' home. And I said, we had hundreds of saris and I don't know what to do with them. And then Shekhar starts sharing a story about how his mom used to wear them in the lab when she was, a young woman, often the only woman in the lab, and has this image of her wearing this garment as an assertion of her identity when that wasn't so comfortable. And so we just lit up and we were like, is there something to do on the history of the sari? And the curators, notably Saloni Bardman, who's a public historian, she did so much better by saying, look, this history goes back to the early 1900s where Coney Island had this ride and would bring in Indian dancers wearing the sari. And so it just feels like the history of New York through the lens of this garment. I'm so proud of that, but I also love that they kind of took this idea and they did even better with it. We're seeing this as a community, you mentioned us as the community media partner. We're taking that pretty sacred and saying, look, what are your sari stories? How has this garment, what are your memories of this? What have people handed down to you? We're just seeing some organic themes already. When we had our reception about 2 weeks ago, people asked if they could bring their moms. So we're trying to plan a moms and children event around this. A lot of issues, of course, of mental health and, family and generational trauma emerge as a result of, my mom wore this when she immigrated and it was a very difficult time. Loss. There's a lot of loss. People sharing pictures of their mom in a sari and saying, she died a few years ago. I wish I had asked more about what each of these garments meant and what she was doing so I feel so proud that I think this is a very Epicenter thing where we kind of, got involved through one aspect of history. The New York Historical has done a great job with that. But of course, this history is our history and it's way beyond the walls of the museum. So I hope people go see it, but I also hope that they reflect on their own stories.
Definitely. And just seeing all the beautiful saris folks were wearing at that reception and asking some folks kind of like, where'd you get that? And not expecting the story of maybe a friend who had died and wanted to make sure they passed it on, right? With all its stories. Is there a Sari story you can share with us?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you one that I'm wearing. I have a big family wedding this weekend. It's my father's best friend's granddaughter's wedding. Now, you all might be like, wait, what is that connection? When my father immigrated to America, his roommate was this man named Brojan Bordeloi, who's unfortunately passed on, but his granddaughter. So it's 3 generations have been friends. When I was in high school, he gifted me a sari from his hometown in Upper Assam. That's where we're from. And it's orange and black. It's great for October and Halloween month. And I'm going to be wearing that at the Assamese ceremony of his granddaughter as she gets married. This is the most important ceremony in our community as the daughter is kind of given away. Of course, in modern parlance, she's not really given away. And so I feel, he's not going to be there, but he's going to kind of be there because of this outfit that he gave me, and I get to wear it at the wedding. So that's one that I'm thinking about because it's literally hanging for me to iron it when I go home.
And, we have so much going on, very busy at Epicenter with the Sari exhibit and some other kinds of artist projects. And then we're also committed to, sharing knowledge with other community media outlets, especially. And to that end, we just launched a new AI cohort for small publishers and quote unquote civic innovators.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
And what is that?
So we just launched this cohort. We got a big grant from the McGovern Foundation, and the Epicenter Foundation is going to be creating a cohort. We offer free training and support to basically engage in like peer-to-peer learning, right? That means that we'll share with all of you how we've woven elements of generative AI into Epicenter with this belief that some aspects of technology can be used for community good. We're looking for other folks who view AI in that way. We ran a cohort like this last year. It was tremendous because we learned so much from, hey, did you know that AI dilutes your accent and doesn't know where you're from? And then we were able to go to the software and the tool makers and be like, stop, keep our accents, keep where we're from intact, And so we're kind of educating systems that are not often made for us, I think. And the other important part of this is that we're offering grants between $10,000 and $20,000 for the organizations that participate. What do I mean by civic organizations? It really is people with the belief that tech can be used for good. That feels at odds with the moment that we're in right now. I have a lot of choice phrases to say about some of the platforms, but I won't get into that. But I think many of us are clinging to trying to do the right thing because whether we like it or not, this is with us. So we'd rather be a part of bringing our communities along and kind of not being left behind as generative AI and robots take over our jobs in World Amber. So anything you're doing in October, I want to make sure we get to look ahead a little and then I'll close this out.
I'm just excited about some of the small businesses. We're going to be learning more about a Mexican bakery, Masa Madre, a husband and wife duo, Digital Memories NYC, who help host this photo booth outfit, and just a lot happening.
Speaking of small businesses, Rupee Beer, my favorite beer, is launching a non-alcoholic brand. And I never thought I'd be into non-alcoholic beers and wines, but I kind of am seeing how socially these are necessary things because sometimes I just don't want to drink, but I have to drink because I'm in that setting. William Kedridge is doing a show at Powerhouse in Brooklyn, and I saw his work outside Copenhagen, and it was amazing. He's a South African artist who's just incredible. And then there's a show called Queens that's going to be taking place off Broadway, and it's about basement apartments and the women who live in them. But I saw the director in a little preview, and I think that'll be something I'll be looking forward to in October.
Thanks for listening. You can find links in the show notes to the Sari exhibit and to apply for the Civics AI cohort. A reminder, today's the last day to apply, so don't miss that deadline if you or your organization want to be a part of it. Also, make sure to tune into our monthly chats live on Los Herederos Radio. We cover everything from health, politics, education, arts and culture, and much more. That's all for today. Thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com.